and that's what it is.
There's some consistency.
Yeah, like I'm like, what in the hell, right? Or when we wanted to destabilize another country, right? You literally start creating one. It's called a PSYOP, right? Psychological operation, and you start basically pitting groups against each other, right? Because once you start pitting groups against each other, you're creating instability in that country, and then you can start going in, and then you can see a lot of the people that we put in power, right? So like it's not a secret. We trained the Taliban in the 70s to help destabilize what's going on in Afghanistan, so the Russians couldn't take over that country, right? And then a lot of the leadership there eventually became senior leadership, and then we ended up calling them terrorists, and we're fighting them, right? So like all this stuff, right? I learned it, right? Got to participate in a little bit of it when I was in Afghanistan, and then I think it was last year. It was the first time. It was probably like April or May. I'm like, holy shit! Like, if this is actually what we're doing here, a lot of what's going on would make a lot more sense, right? Because like now I'm like, what is going on? Why are we doing all these things? Like, it makes no sense. But once you start seeing it through that lens, it can make sense, right? And then another one is, so anything that's not against, like with the main narrative is a conspiracy theory, right? And there's like a shame about it. So if you say anything that's not part of the main narrative, you're a science denier, you're
You're anti-vax.
Yeah, you're anti-vax, right? And
if you didn't get all your vaccines and all your boosters, you're anti-vax.
Yeah,
because you missed one, you're anti-vax.
We have amnesia. We literally have amnesia, right? Like, and if you follow on social media, probably don't. Actually, I know you don't. But like, we'll say, the politicians, the people in charge will say stuff, completely contradicted like 3 months later, right? And it's like, and it's just like people literally just forgot about it. It's like, how do you publicly say you're not going to do this or you're going to do this, 3 months later completely do something that's
that you said you wouldn't do and you couldn't do?
Yeah,
but yet they did anyway.
And then like it's that's like that's a hallmark of an abusive relationship, right? Like literally the person could change what they're saying, and rather than being like, whoa, something's going on here, like I'm being manipulated, right? It's like the person that's being manipulated lose their will, and they start actually thinking they're the ones that's crazy, or they need you literally could break people's will that way.
Gaslighting them.
Yeah, it's called gaslighting.
And then once you get to that point, how hard is it to make whatever changes that you want to implement?
So usually, right, so like, like anything, there's like, you have to, I think there's two. One, you hit rock bottom, right, and everyone's rock bottom is different. And then two, which is the one that I'm probably the most like inspired by, there's always like a tipping point of consciousness. So like Donnie talks about this a lot. Donnie
Epstein.
Yeah, he talks about like spiral dynamics, right? And the whole idea is that you don't need everyone to see something, but there's a percentage. It could be 1, it could be 3%, it could be 9%. No one knows.
Tireless, irate minority.
Yeah, right. But when you get enough momentum, you establish something in the field that's different, all of a sudden you hit a tipping point, and then it's like a typhoon.
It goes viral.
Where people wake up, right? So the example I like is cell phones, right? Cell phones were around like the 80s. But for most people I know, it was 2000, 2001, they got a Nokia, right? They got that Nokia, it hit a tipping point, something happened where that just became available to people, right? And I think like,
there's a book, Malcolm Gladwell, called The Tipping Point, where he talks exactly about that, what causes things to go viral.
Yeah, so for this, right, because if you try to fight this stuff, I mean, it's fun to kind of troll it sometimes, I do it, it's not going to do anything, right? But if you see it for what it is, which is literally just like hysteria, right? It's like women being addicted to calories, right? And you can logically present it, hey, listen, you don't work out the same every day. So how does it make sense that you're restricted to 1,200 calories a day? And if you go 1,300, world's over, you're going to get fat. And then if you do 1,100 the next day, then you're winning, right? How about like being in tune with your body, being aware of how you feel, right? Or this whole thing with your weight on a scale, right? It's like and this happens a lot at the gym, they gain 10 pounds, right? But in their mind, it's been programmed 120 pounds is my ideal weight. So they gain 10 pounds. They look way better. I think they look way better. They even think they look way better, but there's some kind of like stuckness where they can't get over the emotional attachment to being 10 pounds over their weight, right? So logically explaining it to them is not going to help, right? I'm sure you guys all tried. It doesn't help, right?
Well, people don't make decisions based on logic anyway. They make decisions based on emotion.
Yeah, but when you see it for what it is, right, and then you get the people that are ready to actually shift, and there's not people that do, there's going to be a tipping point, and then this is actually a catalyst for that to shift. Like, I'm not going to lie, like, when the election happened, I'm like, oh, God, I have to deal with, like, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, right? But actually, it's been, like a year now? I think it's great, because Trump came in.
Red pilling everybody.
Yeah, Trump came in, and he literally created massive instability, right? Yes. I remember at first people were outraged, like, with the stuff he was saying, and, like, within, like 3 or 4 months of him just being more of a public figure, he could say, like, stuff that usually, like, would get him canceled. And people were just like, oh, that's just wrong. He's an asshole. But they just let him do it. And he literally pushed the boundary. Think of like how people thought about the media before Trump. And think of the credibility of media now. Right? So he was necessary to create that instability. Right?
He completely destroyed the media, the credibility of the media industry within his presidency.
And then now
they did a good job of self-emulating, and they continue to do it every day.
Well, they did it to themselves, but the point is that he illuminated that, made that so obvious.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like it was always there. I'm like for me, I'm like, how did I never see this before? Like, how did I not see this before?
Yeah, how ridiculous some of it actually is.
Right. And then you have Biden and Kamala come in, and they're literally trying to like run the old playbook, right? But once you kind of like get exposed and you're trying to run the old playbook, it's just like, dude, like you said you were never going to mandate vaccines in January. Like, it's on video. Like you as the president of the United States gave your word, right? And
we don't have the authority to do that. We would never do that,
right? So like, for me personally, I think Biden and Kamala were necessary, right? There's more people that talk to me now, like oh my God, like something's not right here, and they hardcore identify as a Democrat, right? But like they don't quite know yet. But it's just like it's almost like the reality's unraveling, and it takes a little bit, because if you're used to this one reality, and all of a sudden everything you thought was how the world was supposed to work.
People don't change their belief system until it's proven invalid, and so that's what's happening.
Yeah,
it's like in 2016, the right got red pilled.
Yeah, I just saw this today. This is the first time in the at least as far as I think like they started keeping track. There's more registered Republicans in Florida than Democrats today. It's the first time ever. You know, and it's not even like it's not like I'm like.
You're saying there's more registered Republicans
and Democrats.
Well, Florida's always been red, so you're saying more Democrats.
Registered.
We're talking about registered voters. There's always been, the Democrats always had an advantage. They had more people registered.
Yeah, they might not necessarily won, but there was more registered.
Okay, so even though there's more Republicans registered,
and I don't think
it depends on who shows up on election day to vote.
So it just didn't show up.
Hillary lost because nobody was excited about her.
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily because people think the Republican Party is so great. It's just like, well, what's going on right now? It's like, what, you know, it's almost being like people being forced to just choose something that's not that. And it's fucking with the reality.
Well, doesn't it seem like that's always the game? Like you're trying to choose the lesser of the two evils? Because it's never like we have two ideal candidates. People who have run businesses, they've been successful, they know how to manage things, they know how to do an industry that's been successful with people they've been successful. Yeah. That's not what we get to choose from. We get to choose from not people that have their act together. We get to choose from. So this is why, and it's like the lesser of the two evils is what we seem to
and this is why
have available every.
This is why probably one of the most exciting things about like crypto to me. People think it's like Dogecoin or like a way to make money, right? The biggest thing growing in crypto is called DeFi, decentralized finance. So decentralized finance is it's like a entity or that's taking some of the functions of the bank, but it's decentralized. No one owns it. So there's governance. And governance is the people that are participating in it. So one way to do it is called liquid democracy. So, for example, if it comes to stuff that's dealing with the spine, right, I can delegate my vote to you for that topic. But if you don't do a good job, I could take that vote back and vote myself. And so now, instead of having like people that are locked into terms, so like right now in America, we have representative democracy, right? These people are supposed to represent our interests.
Supposed to. Yeah, that's it too.
Yeah. Right?
Uniparty and a uniparty.
So it's this thing that, people in charge are trying to kill off, but it's decentralized. It's like software, like on the internet. Like if you push too far, literally you'll piss people. It's the funniest thing, right? Because if you make it too obvious, then you'll actually piss people off and you'll wake them up faster. But if you don't, it's going to grow and grow and grow, and then it'll actually undermine your position, right? So like as that happens, right, I think a lot of the principles in DeFi, so crypto, it will actually start bleeding over into how we do politics.
Because it'll make sense.
It makes way more sense.
It's more efficient.
It makes more sense, right?
And it's more representation.
Like you have like Congress, like without term limits, like you have, and then like the stuff that's going on, like we're voting on policy, we're voting on how we do things, right? You don't need someone that is sitting in a room with a bunch of other people going over a 4,000-page document that none of them read, and then just making these decisions, and then cutting backroom deals, this lobbying money. If you let me put this in, which benefits my lobbyists, I'll vote for your thing. Like, how is that benefiting the people?
And it's not.
Right? But when it comes to liquid democracy, you have to actually participate to be able to vote, right? So like you have to be participating in the ecosystem somehow, which makes sense. If you're not participating, why do you get to vote, right? And if you're participating, you either have the vote yourself or you could delegate your vote to other people. Now, the person that gets the vote delegated to them, if they're not acting in the interest of the ecosystem, they're going to get their vote taken away, right? But if they actually are acting in the interest of everyone, they're benefiting, and then the ecosystem, the people that are participating benefiting, is a win-win-win. Right now, it's not like that at all. And that's actually why I'm really excited about like crypto, and I talked about it and the stuff I'm like getting into. But just like everything else, right? The standard is low. People want to talk about Dogecoin and stuff.
But at least they're tuning in. They're tuning into that, which is a small step.
There's literally a way in the right direction. There's literally a way of governing that's growing. It's growing rapidly. It's exploding, and like it's like I don't see how it doesn't start bleeding into other ways of governing, right? Because it's starting to turn into like, because you essentially have like an entity that's supporting and growing itself, right? Or another example is like if you have a Tesla car that's self-drive and it's doing Uber, right? So it can actually drive around, collect money, and it's actually fueling its own account, and then it can use its account to do other stuff, and then actually deliver that product or service better, right? And then it requires a little bit of AI, but like if you have something like that and you have people participating, being able to vote to help that be more beneficial for people, where everyone really gets to have a vote. So like most of these people that are in power, like the whole game of politics has to shift. So
it has outlived its usefulness.
Yeah, and that's what Donnie talks about all the time, right? The first tier is there's a limited amount of resources we're all trying to bind and control, and then the next tier is that the more you're actually benefiting the system, the more you get rewarded, right? And there's actually an unlimited amount of resources, and you're coming from a place of abundance.
Lord Acton said liberty exists in the distribution of power, tyranny, and the concentration of it. That's what I like about crypto as well, because it's money.
Yeah.
Money has one purpose. It's two. It's a medium of financial exchange and a store of financial value. That's it. It's the only reason that it exists.
Yeah.
So it's an easy way to facilitate beneficial human interaction. People come to your gym. People come to me for my books or the self-help or whatever. People come to you for advertising. People come to you for health. We all get paid based on the value that we bring to the marketplace, our reserve of knowledge, and our gifts, our skills, and our talents that we've taken the time to develop.
Yeah, and then if you like look at financial literacy, so basically how the economy works, it almost seems purposeful that the average person has no idea how the economy works. Like what's money? Where does it come from? What does it mean that we're in debt? Right, like all that stuff. So then
That's why we did a documentary, Economic Prosperity for All.
Yeah, and then these politicians, they'll just literally throw out like a word like, oh, we're going to do quantitative easing, and it's for the American people. And then you know,
like, what the hell is
it sounds
easing?
good. Yeah.
What quantitative easing is that the Fed basically buys the government bonds. So when the Fed holds the bonds, the interest expense to the Treasury is zero because we don't pay money on our own debt. But as soon as they sell it to China or whoever holds that bond, then the federal government has to pay interest. So when the Fed buys those, the interest expense goes to zero on those bonds as long as the Fed holds them. So it's a way to keep the Congress from the debts, from exceeding the debt ceiling. It gives them more money to spend, basically.
Yeah.
And as you increase the money supply and circulation in the economy grows. As you contract it, the economy contracts.
Yeah, and like probably like 3% of the population understood that, it would be a game changer. It doesn't have to be the majority of the population. You just need to reach a critical threshold.
We're getting closer.